1944, Europe was burning. Smoke, fire, and the sound of artillery filled the air from the beaches of Normandy to the fields of Eastern Europe. Germany still stood as a powerhouse, believing its military discipline and advanced weapons could turn the tide of war. Among these weapons was one machine that was meant to be Germany's ultimate answer to defeat, the Panther tank. The Panther was a beast, sleek, powerful, and terrifying. It was faster than most Allied tanks, with thick, sloped armor and a deadly 75-millimeter gun that could destroy enemies before they even got close. German engineers called it the perfect balance between speed and strength. Nazi propaganda hailed it as the future of warfare, and Hitler himself believed that the Panther would restore Germany's dominance on the battlefield. But behind the steel and pride lay a fatal truth. The Panther was rushed into production after the Germans were shocked by the Soviet T-34. Factories worked under bombing raids, engineers were exhausted, and quality control was nearly impossible. The result? The mighty Panther was unreliable. Gears jammed, engines overheated, and fuel systems leaked. On paper, it was a masterpiece. In the field, it was a disaster waiting to happen. When the Allies landed in Normandy in June 1944, Hitler ordered dozens of Panther divisions to crush them. Under the dark skies of France, German tank crews rolled forward, confident that their new weapon would turn the tide. But as dawn broke, the roar of engines turned into coughing smoke. Panthers broke down before reaching their targets. Some caught fire without a single shot being fired. One German tanker later wrote in his diary, "We were told the Panther would lead us to victory. But as I watched it burn, I realized it might lead us to our end." The Allies soon spotted the stranded tanks. Artillery rained down. The same forests that were meant to hide the Panthers became their graves. The Germans' superweapon turned into a liability, massive, expensive, and fragile. What was supposed to be Germany's iron fist had become its Achilles heel. As the months passed, frustration grew. German soldiers started to fear their own tanks. They couldn't rely on them. Their morale dropped. Generals reported the problems, but Hitler dismissed them as cowardice. He refused to believe that his ultimate weapon could fail. But on the front lines, soldiers knew the truth. The Panther wasn't killing the enemy. It was killing their hope. Ironically, several Panthers were captured intact by the Allies. American and Soviet engineers repaired them, studied them, and in some cases, used them against the Germans themselves. In one daring operation, Allied troops disguised a captured Panther, using it to sneak through German lines and strike from within. The weapon built to crush the Allies had now become their secret advantage. By 1945, Germany's war machine was collapsing. Thousands of Panthers had been built, but their presence could no longer change the outcome. They had become symbols, not of strength, but of overconfidence. The Panther was indeed one of the most advanced tanks of its time. Yet it failed because it was rushed, over-engineered, and poorly supported. When the war finally ended, many of these tanks stood abandoned, silent giants rusting in fields once soaked with fire and fear. Historians would later say that the Panther was not defeated by enemy fire, but by its own flaws, by arrogance, haste, and the illusion of perfection. The Panther did not lose the war for Germany, but it perfectly symbolized why they did. As the echoes of war faded and Europe began to rebuild, the story of the Panther remained, a lesson written in steel and smoke. Every clank of its tracks, every shell it fired, and every explosion it endured whispered a single truth. Power means nothing if it cannot endure. This is Echoes of War.